What's up, leaders? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Leap From Here podcast. I'm Jason. Today we're talking about the difference between collecting data from an automated perspective and from a manual perspective. More specifically, I want to talk about why you want to focus on the automated as opposed to the manual when you're talking about collecting data and building metrics and things like that. We've had multiple episodes where we've talked about data and the importance of data and being able to build cases with data, being able to show the need with data, and all of those things are very much still important and very crucial for a healthy business, team, department, whatever. And what I see the most often is people tend to think, okay, we need data. How do we get that? We go manual. We just make people put all this manual entry data in and we just start building metrics off that. It's a good place to start, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of risks that come with that. One, manual entry is, just rife with all kinds of manual data error, lack of filling it in, so you don't have the data at all. And then you're also taking time away from your talented resources and getting their real job done, which is doing their job. You want to be able to get the data, obviously, that is very important. But what I always recommend and what I personally try and focus on heavily when I'm talking about how do we build metrics, how do we build a story, how do we figure out how to show what's going on in the most clear fashion possible. I'm thinking about how you can get that data in an automated fashion. Tools that are already being used within your teams, things that are happening. So for instance, Jira is a very popular project management platform where you're dealing with tickets and statuses and points and all these things that you have to do for the ticket to be done. Anything you add in there manually that is not part of the natural process of creating the ticket, starting the ticket, working the ticket, finishing the ticket, closing the ticket, anything you add in there that's a manual step that maybe it's at the end of it after it's closed or at the beginning of it before it starts, anything you add in there that's manual, you want to make sure that you minimize that. If it's not part of the flow and part of the conversation and part of the work being done, it can add a situation where you're going to either miss the data, get incorrect data, or burn people out constantly having to make sure that data is filled out on hundreds of tickets they're pushing through on a week-by-week basis. So with that, manual entry is not inherently bad, right? There's a lot of opportunity for you to get things done within the workflow of your typical day-to-day business, and then utilize that data to kind of build the picture of what's happening. So if you flip that on its head and you kind of look at the automated way of doing things, it's really interesting to me, and one of the ways I really push for is looking for processes that already exist. So things that are already happening within your team, your department, your company, that say, hey, we already do this. This is already a habit we've already formed. The more you can utilize that already pre-built process and habit, the more effective you're going to be at creating a picture in an automated fashion that will make whatever you're trying to prove or trying to show or trying to monitor way easier for everybody involved. You're going to be able to get automated metrics on whatever cadence you need for your business to be able to monitor or grow or do all the things that you can do with data, whether that's building out more teams, hiring more people, doing more with what you have, or maybe needing to scale back if you're a leader that is in a group that is struggling. There's a lot of different opportunities with data if you use it effectively. So it's important to find opportunities and find ways that you can look at processes that already exist and pair those with other processes. So maybe you've got two different departments, you're trying to make them communicate better. So if you're trying to do that, instead of saying hey, you guys, I'm going to create a spreadsheet and you put this in here and you put this in here, and then from there I'll organize that data in this sheet and you guys just keep manually putting this in. That's great until somebody leaves or somebody changes jobs or whatever, and then you're trying to train somebody new and then they don't have that habit built. It's better if you can look at the system they're using and look at the system the other person's using and say, okay, both these systems have APIs. Let's see if we can build a tool that can automatically pull that data for us, save their time, save your time in the long run. Yeah, you have to put in the work out of the gate, but that's your job. You're the leader. You're trying to paint a picture. Paint it. That's part of the job. Canvases don't paint themselves. You have to put in the work out of the gate. But if you can do it in an automated fashion, there's no more work for you from the long run. Yeah, you might have to maintain it and keep up with it and tweak it as your business need changes. But once it's built, it should just run. Doing this in an automated fashion brings a lot of power, a lot of flexibility, a lot of clarity. And it does it without overburdening anybody too much. And that's really the main goal, right? Is allowing your people to do what they do best. Not do admin work and data entry constantly, but be able to do what they do best. Whether that's write code or sell things or manage people or manage customers or whatever it is that they do best, you got to keep them on that. If you can do that, you will be much happier in the long run. They will be much happier and you'll all find more success. Sure, there's going to be things that are going to have to be manual. So if you got to do that, make sure you document heavily, train heavily, and then have a very high expectation and no room for wiggle room. Make sure you set very high expectations for what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and who needs to do. From there, you have to constantly monitor and make sure that everybody's doing what they need to do until it becomes a habit. Once it becomes a habit, you don't have to do it as much, but you have to stay on top of the people that are doing that work. And if you do have to do it, make sure it's the least amount of data entry you possibly can make it to get what you need to get. If you just start collecting a bunch of data just hoping that you'll find something, you're putting yourself in a bad situation. So make sure, maybe even if you need to, if it's going to be manual entry, do it yourself for a little while to make sure you're pulling the data right, the right kind of data, and then you can also train and document how to do it. If you do all those things, you'll make it a little bit better on the mainland, but if you can do it automated, I highly recommend do that. Even if you have to hire an outside company to do a contract work to come in and be like, hey, we're experts in this tool or both those tools, and we can make them talk and build you a dashboard, even better. Now, if you happen to have like an internal team, like a data warehouse or a data science group or whatever, utilize them as much as you possibly can. Get a ticket in, get to know those people because they can be extremely helpful and they can build pathways that may not already exist. Then you don't have to worry about hiring somebody else or doing it yourself. And that can be a great way. Not a lot of companies have it, but more and more companies are starting to do it. So it's a really great way to do things. So that's another way. All these things come together to say anything you can do to save your people's time, do it. And when it comes to metrics, I cannot stress enough how making sure that it's automated and not making it manual will make you more successful at trying to implement this, bar none, across the board. It's way better to do automated if you can pull it off. It takes a little more legwork, takes a little more thought and strategy, and maybe even some technical know-how or hiring somebody that has that technical know-how. Ultimately, if you can get to an automated state, you'll be significantly happier. You'll be able to have much more clarity without a bunch of people doing admin work instead of doing what they do best. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, hit me up, jason@leadfromhere.co. Otherwise, if you like what you're hearing, please like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. I would greatly appreciate it. Take care.